You could be 3 minutes late. You could be a little circle dog, right? A little circle dog. Yeah. Oh, little buddy. Hello, everybody. She's so problem. It's Sunday night. Oh, because I didn't feel like doing a show on Friday. I wanted to just sit and do nothing, and that's what I did. So sometimes it's what you gotta do. You gotta sit and do nothing. And I watched the Mission Impossible movie. That was fun. Okay, so what's happening? Well, we had some more documents from more fee statements drop into the BBBY court, bankruptcy court. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours spent negotiating mergers, making sure 382 compliance so that the NOLs could be preserved, maintaining shareholder equity, doing weird stuff like that, all filling up every single one of these dockets again. Why in a bankruptcy would the court and creditors approve of like $30 million being spent on merger and acquisition, NOL preservation, shareholder stake preservation, new equity disbursements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if that wasn't the plan? So here we sit, twiddling thumbs. My thumb works again, so we're twiddling thumbs. Yay. All it takes was a few days wrapped up and not moving, and the thumb goes back to normal again. So there we go. What's happening? Doug Cifu is having major meltdowns. You don't, if you aren't involved in a particular stock play, I mean, on one side or the other, you don't spend hours and hours a day having a complete meltdown with people who are involved in that stock play. It's a very weird thing. Like I understand you don't play football. You like to watch football, so you talk about football. But if you hate football, you don't know anything about football, and you want nothing to do with football, why would you spend all your time watching football games, talking about football games, and communicating with other people about football games? That's not what Doug is doing. Doug is having an absolute meltdown over the fact of the possibility that Butterfly could reemerge from bankruptcy and offer new equity. And he's trying his darndest to convince everyone that that's not going to happen. You know, I'm a lawyer. I used to charge $2,000 an hour for my legal services. Cool. You also didn't cite any of the documentation that's been in the court. So, I mean, PP asked him point blank, like, hey, what about the $10.8 billion just showed up in their accounts? And he's like, that's just the aggregate total of all their debts. But it's not. Like, they had $5 billion in debt. It got whittled down to $1.5 billion in debt. To creditors have been made whole to suddenly there's $10.8 billion in there. That's fresh money. That's fresh money from somebody, which is weird. Like, hey, we're bankrupt, don't exist anymore. I'm going to put $10.8 billion in there. Or no, they owe me $10.8 billion. It has to be used for something. There's not $10.8 billion in administrative costs. There's not $10.8 billion in running the company costs. There's only 63 employees left, the entire accounting team, and that's it. Everyone else is gone. Now, they have leases still on, I think, 30 stores and 3 distribution centers. Might be 2 now, but I think it's 3 distribution centers. So there is something happening there. Salvatore thinks it's pretty likely that GME is going after Overstock or Beyond, as it is, due to their 20% ownership in TZero and a whole bunch of trademarks for TZero that has to do with like gaming and stuff that have appeared in there. So, I mean, as good as speculation as any, because we're in speculation station until, you know, an S1, 8K, 10K, those things drop and we can be like, oh, that's what's going on. So, speculate, twiddle your thumbs. Alexander made us a new intro, so let's intro it. Bing! Hey, there we go. All right. Shit show intro off. Okay, so. Did anything else to talk about, Monkey? Did I mention anything else in the intro? Not yet. So I'll just go to questions. What have we got in the chat? What have you guys been thinking about all weekend? I know it's been a few days. Oh, also it's Shiny Shirt Week. I totally was supposed to do Shiny Shirt Week on Wednesday, and I forgot. That's when Shiny Shirt Week's supposed to start. So day 2 of Shiny Shirt Week is the Steve Reese shiny shirt. This is a shirt my neighbor Steve Reese gave to me. So Steve's wife had passed away. His health was going down, but he'd come into the bar where I was working every Sunday, get a pint of Mac and Jack's African Amber beer and a plate of the Bourguignon beef poutine. And one night he came in wearing the shirt, and I was like, Steve, that is a fantastic shiny shirt. He said, Margo. And then the next morning, the shirt was hanging from my door handle, my front door. Shortly after that, Steve went to hospice. He had really quick Parkinson's and passed away a few weeks later. So I wear this shirt every year in honor of the gentle and kind Steve Reese, who was he's just a nice guy. You know, I was like 6th grade. I'd help take care of their cats when they would go on vacation, and they were just a nice guy. So the Steve Reese shirt, it's nice and shiny, and it's hard to see with this flat light, but there you go. There's some shininess. Woo! All right. So expect nothing but shiny shirts for weeks, because Shiny Shirt Week is the longest week of the year. I wear a different shiny shirt until I run out, and I have a lot of them. So, it's the bright and the cold November days, unless you guys are Australian or something, because then you don't have cold November days, you have warm ones. Okay, so Fabrizio, plop. Kelly Reed, Moody just downgraded the United States to negative. I'm ready for my 3rd once-in-a-lifetime financial crisis. Well, yeah, we just went down to AA plus, right, from AAA for Moody's. And Moody's doesn't downgrade anybody. They also upgraded El Salvador. That's funny. Like, El Salvador is trying to become like the Bitcoin capital, and their weird tech bro president does nothing but use all their money to buy Bitcoin. And he's been borrowing at like 20%, hundreds of millions of dollars from creditors around the world, and using it to buy Bitcoin. And he bought a whole bunch when Bitcoin was like $68,000, and immediately went, and he owed piles of money. So we'll see how that works out for them. Good luck, Ecuador or El Salvador. Okay, so code wrecked. Houston, hope all's well. All's going pretty well. Antonio Baez, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you too. XXX, hello. Any MMTLP? Can't read. Any MMTLP news? Any idea how long and what way? Thank you. No news. I just know that there was a whole bunch of hearings in the Congress. There were closed door hearings last month, and I've heard nothing out of that. I'm hoping to have a woman on. I reached out. I got her contact. Reached out to her. She's been really big in like lobbying Congress to do something about this. So hoping to bring her on maybe in the next week or two. I haven't heard back yet as to, if she can do it. But we'll talk about sort of the lobbying efforts that are being involved and which members of Congress have been receptive and who's kind of sticking it to them. Apache Football Films, Houston. What are the odds RC was telling us to DRS BBBY instead of GME? I ask only because there isn't anyone from AST brokers are posting they lost shares. I think the last I saw is someone yesterday saying they talked to AST/Equinity/Wells Fargo, who was like, oh, your shares are being held and due to a reorganization. And that's the reorganization is what's coming through the big brokers. It's the crappy little like trading apps, your Weebles and stuff, where they did penny for a lot on a lot of them. And I think they opened themselves up to huge lawsuits if they don't make those investors whole again if there's a distribution. They're like, well, we just bought your shares for a penny without your consent, and now it's worth millions and billions of dollars. That's a great way to like lose everything if you are an app like that. So they're gonna have to make those people whole if there is a distribution of cash or equity, because it pays everyone a penny for their shares when that's not at all what the letter to the DTCC from the Bed Bath administrator told them to do. Said withdraw the shares, they're worthless. Didn't say give people a penny for them, just take them out of the market. And that's what most brokers did. Lapatron, Houston. I've been collecting ship boxes for a while now. Thoughts on 80 series Land Cruiser with 3-liter diesel swap to tour the USA? Yes. Gets such better gas mileage. Oh my gosh. Because like the unleaded Series 80, you might get 10, 12 miles per gallon on one of those suckers. 3-liter diesel, you got continuous torque from low RPM. So if you're going to like do any trails and everything, you just put that thing in idle and it'll just climb a mountain for you. You'll probably get 15 to 20 miles per gallon with an engine like that. So yeah, it'll save you a lot on gas, which is a lot of time spent not like filling the tank every 120 miles, instead filling it every 300 or so miles. So yeah, that's a good idea. The Belgian Whale member for 6 months. Did you see the PP show with Okbet 911? I like his bullishness. He seems to know his game. New hype date, the 15th. I'll take any hype dates. Each day, I think, tomorrow we'll see the S1 and everything will be honky-dory. And then we don't see it. I'm like, tomorrow we'll see it. So each day, we're one day closer. I don't know if you guys have seen the earthquakes are happening in Iceland, like just a crazy number of earthquakes. The spreading ridge is basically doing this, honk, in Iceland right now, just south of Reykjavik. And a huge amount of magma has been intruding into the the rift zone area. And they don't know where the lava is going to pop out. It could pop out right where the Blue Lagoon is, or right near there. If you guys know what the Blue Lagoon is, it's a wonderful hot pool of water. And it could pop out one of the volcanoes near there, or it could just make a whole new cone, make a new shield volcano come out. So they don't know when the volcano is going to erupt, where it's going to erupt, or what it's going to look like when it erupts. They just know that each day we're one day closer to that volcano going. Pow! So here we are, one day closer to when our butterfly goes. Pow! And it could happen tomorrow. And if it doesn't happen tomorrow, we can say it could happen tomorrow. It could happen tomorrow. On and on and on and on. But no, I did not get to see PP show yesterday. I tried to get Akbet on here. Okay, bet, and apparently said no. So. Yeah, well, people can say yes, can say no. I need guests on here. It's me too often. I need to have somebody to bounce things off of. So, you know, you guys convince them to come on. I'll gladly have them on. Barry's Bit looks like Twitter X suspended your account. Yes. I got suspended in August, July. I was mean to a Nazi. And Twitter was like, no, you aren't allowed to be mean to Nazis, and deleted my account. So I no longer have an account on there. I can see people's posts and stuff. I just can't like, message, do that stuff. Which is why I'm over on Blue Sky, where the skies are blue. And here we are. Bluing it up. I still have a whole bunch of names. Where did... Here we go. So Shane E, Maui Sam, Dr. G78, Let's Hope, Mark, Brian Adams, Anonymous Bloomer, The Dude Cometh, Sam O, Aleph 757, Patty MJ, Tuckaroo, Dano, Let's Pay Like, Alvarez, Jay Sheely, Brenda Queen of Swords, Fast Like a Bear, SP, and Eileen. You are all winners of Blue Sky invite codes. So send me a message via the Reddit, and I will get you your code. Anyone who's not on this list, I've got a whole bunch of codes already ready to go for Toys for Tots Charity Tuesday drive, which will be the last Tuesday of the month, which is the 28th. 28th. It's the 28th, and man, I'm hoping for explosions before then, so we can make it another record setter. We can just absolutely crush Children International, and Toys for Tots can like supply every child in the country with something as a result of our amazing fundraiser for them. It's getting, get ready for Christmas spirit, handing out toys for everybody, all the little boys and girls. All right. Oh, Milkman, is there any new update with the volcano that might erupt in Iceland? Oh, that's what we were just talking about. What is the most recent... Okay, Iceland volcano earthquakes. Warning, volcanic eruption could obliterate Grindavik as residents flee. So there might not be a blue lagoon anymore after this. So I'm glad I got my photographs from there. It does look like the spreading ridge is spreading here. Let's see if we can find some good pictures. Okay. So that's video. I don't care about video. Not now. All right. I want pictures of Grindavik. Here we go. So here's some spreading ridge. See if we can see a picture of this thing. Show me that photograph. So this looks like big uplift happening right here. So you see the sucker, the land's like punk popping up. And so this is the rift zone. This is literally where the Atlantic Ocean is splitting apart as it goes through Iceland. So on one side is North America and on the other side is Europe. And this is where they're spreading apart at about, the ocean is spreading apart about 3 inches a year on average. And there can be large events that can cause things to split a lot faster. Let's see if we can find, I want some good pictures. There are some good pictures I saw earlier of like splits there. Let's see some photographs. Let's see what we got. What do we got? It's 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 8 hours ago. Iceland adds live stream to a possible eruption of Fjörgensfröd. So that is from the eruption, I think, in 2021. That picture. Nope. Just show me. Oh crap! I went too far. Can I do images? No, I want news still. Where are we looking? Geothermal spot closes. That's, we know that. See, I can do faults. No, you know what we'll do? You know what we'll do? We'll just show you on the map what's happening. Gosh dang it. Why does this thing always start in the wrong window and then start way too large so I can't get into the right window? And here we go. All right. Google Earth. Okay, so spreading ridge. Europe on one side, North America on the other. North America on the other. You come up through Iceland, and the spreading ridge goes right through the little peninsula where you find Reykjavik. This is the spreading ridge, and I've been right to where on one side is North America, and the other side is Europe. You can actually do scuba diving tours where you scuba dive down into the trench that forms in the spreading ridge. Now, Grindavik is a little bit to the east, and what's happening is there's a giant rift zone forming in here from one of the volcanoes, and it's just kind of splitting apart. And it could be result of folds from this rift zone itself, from the spreading ridge, and they had recent volcanic action up in here a couple years ago, and there's some shield volcanoes all in around where the Blue Lagoon is. So if this thing erupts, if it pops out somewhere in here, the flow could definitely head towards Grindavik, which has been evacuated basically the entire town. Unlike the United States, Iceland will fight a lava flow. We don't do that here in America. We're scared that if we fight the lava flow and channel it somewhere else, it's going to destroy someone else's property, and then we're going to get sued. But they will take out fire hoses and try to hose down the lava and cool it off and make burns and try to channel this stuff. So they will try to save the town. That's something they'll do there. Whereas America, we just let it burn and go, well, insurance will pay for it. But yeah, so the Blue Lagoon is right here off the edge of the volcano that erupted recently, and that's how it's a geothermal plant, so it's not natural. Basically, take seawater, pump it through the magma chamber, and have it dump out into this area where the Blue Lagoon is. So this is the geothermal plant, and then this is the lagoon where you go stand around and pay $100 to squat for hours and get drinks at the little cabana bars here. There's 1, 2, 3. There's a few bars in there. So there you go. Where will pop? Somewhere in here. I don't know if it'll be a new cone or an old cone that will do it, but somewhere in there. The earthquakes are coming along a huge line. They're coming out from out in the ocean, just thousands, like 44,000 of them since Halloween have come through here and just like rocked through this whole area. And it's basically big long straight line where this rift zone is. This whole volcanic complex. Cool. It's cool. Wouldn't want to be having to deal with like, oh, I'm gonna lose my home, but neat nonetheless, I think. Okay, Logic Dustbin gifted 5 Houston Wave memberships. Fantastic. Derek Horse, KYP, Vimo, Person with No Name, and Thack Blanos. Woo, and Person with No Name, you sent me an email, but you didn't ask for a Blue Sky code. I think, wait, did you win one? I thought you won one, didn't you? Did I already give it to you? I can't remember. My lists are, I can't remember if I scratched things off correctly. Whatever. But, there you go. All right. Person no name Jake 2B commented on the dockets drop this weekend. It sounds really good for us. There hasn't been a docket that's like, let's wipe out the shareholders entirely and fuck the NOLs. I got some fight with a shill on one of the subreddits, and I was like, I'm pretty confident that we're going to get equity back. And he's like, why? Because the NOLs are worth billions. And he's like, but, the documents all say the shareholders wiped out. I'm like, okay, then they don't get the NOLs, which would defeat the entire purpose of creditors spending $50 million on these lawyers. If you're spending $50 million on these lawyers and not preserving the NOLs, then you're just wasting money that you're never going to get back. But if you're spending $50 million on preserving the NOLs, and the only way you can preserve the NOLs is to give half the equity to the existing shareholders, then that's what you're going to do. And he's like, well, that's just normal for bankruptcy. I'm like, no, 2,000 hours a month spent on merger acquisition and NOL preservation and complying with Rule 382 is not normal in a bankruptcy. If you're just like exploring your options, you spend 40 hours on it. You call the creditors like, hey, these NOLs interest you? And they go, no. Okay, done. No more exploring. Because the creditors aren't going to want to pay you $1,500 an hour to continue to explore something they don't want. So I'm pretty confident that the NOLs are coming, and there's going to be at least a couple of mergers into this thing. Everyone wants it. It's billions. It's billions more than what's been listed in the documents, because the $1.5 billion in NOLs is just for the first 9 months of 2022. You can't forget that Mark Tritton, the piece of crap Boston Consulting Group plant that was running Bed Bath & Beyond, he approved and they enacted $11.8 billion in stock buybacks. It was all a giant loss, right? So you've got $2.78 billion for 2022 in losses. Plus you got $11.8 billion in stock buybacks they've done. So you're at, $14.5 billion in NOLs. Whoever absorbs into that isn't paying taxes for a very, very long time. So they're worth a lot. They're worth way more than $50 million they spent on lawyers. But if you're not going to take the NOLs, you're not going to spend $50 million on lawyers. You're not going to be Hudson Bay Capital spending $225 million exercising warrants if you know that your plan that you just wrote is going to wipe out all the equity. Why on earth would you spend $225 million on warrants if that's the case? You're not going to do that. If you are 6th Street and you are doing a dip and philo facility that's around $600 million, right? You're going to want to get something out of it, such as $14.5 billion in NOLs. So do that. And here we sit. Jose Rosario, is there anywhere that data on quantity of shorts is found after short squeeze has already occurred? That's a good question. I'm sure folks at the SEC or FINRA or the DTCC would have access to such things. We haven't had a true short squeeze to fruition, to closure, to finality. Like when VW squoze, it was flying. It would have gone freakishly high, but Porsche, being, I don't know, the gentle German race car manufacturers are like, okay, we will free up and sell a whole bunch of our shares into the market, and we will stop the short squeeze from happening. It was purely them being like, all right, I guess we'll sell some shares and make a boatload of money off of this. But they could have held on to that sucker and it would have squeezed to infinity because they own like 90% of the company or something. And then with GameStop, the squeeze never happened. It was all FOMO. They turned off the buy button and removed the FOMO, and the price collapsed, and then allowed the shorts kind of like reorganize and borrow more shares and jump around and do things and kind of put off the inevitable. So I don't know if we've seen a squeeze go to fruition. Maybe the closest would be Overstock in summer 2020. We could look at how many shares traded when the stock went to like $120. But even that wasn't the type of squeeze as what we're expecting here, because it wasn't a giant retail movement that was involved in Overstock back then. The retail movement didn't come for another 5 months until January 2021. And that's when retailers were like, you know what? Fuck these guys. We can band together and hose them all down. And so if Overstock had that type of like 10 million retail holders buying up their stock like crazy in anticipation of this thing, and we had a whole bunch of like people that aren't normal stock players being like, oh, I've been reading about this on Facebook, I'm going to go buy some shares and I'm going to hold. It would have been a different animal. But it'd been a different animal with GameStop in 2021. If they let the stock get to $1,000, people would have sold their shares. They've been out. Yeah, it would have been probably a couple $100 million in liability for the shorts and stuff at that point. But because they stopped it and because they gave us more time to dive into what's going on, now we're like, well, now I'm holding to like phone book numbers. Why on earth would I sell at $1,000? That's silly. I can sell at a price that will allow me to be on the Fortune 500 list. So, yeah, we've not yet had a true squeeze finish yet, and we may never have one. We may get to a point where there's a whole bunch of crooked numbers in people's sale prices, and the government steps in and goes, we're just going to negotiate a sale price, and you can either agree to it or not, and that's it. So we'll see where it goes. All right. Personal name, I have Martinelli's in the fridge and a 4-pack of it from Costco on deck for this coming week. I've got mine in the fridge, just waiting so I can pop one for the show. I've got 2 for sure. 1 for when we see a favorable SEC filing, and 2 for when I retire. So there we go. White rice with soy sauce. Does it look like we're getting 7 companies, or are those 7 companies just used for future speculative valuation of stock price? One or the other. I had a fudster tell me they're just evaluating Bed Bath & Beyond, its value compared to those 7 companies. I was like, okay, so they're evaluating a company that by this time has been liquidated, right? Because it was August when that stuff was being reviewed. So it's been basically liquidated by then. So they're comparing the value of this liquidated company that has almost nothing to companies that are publicly trading, which tells me that this company's going to publicly trade again. And the Shills like, no, these companies could be bankrupt. Okay, so then they're comparing a publicly traded company that has emerged from bankruptcy, and they're comparing the value. no, they could be bankrupt right now. I'm like, okay, then, if they're bankrupt right now, find me 7 companies that are comparable, that are currently in bankruptcy. You're not going to find 7 companies that are comparable that are currently in bankruptcy because there aren't 7 companies comparable. So no matter what the shills are trying to spin that as, it does not work well for their bear thesis. Either the company they're looking at 7 companies to spin out of this thing, or looking at 7 companies to compare this current company to, right? One or the other. It all points to emergence from bankruptcy. And there's a dog who desperately wants a blanket on top of her. Look at that face. Look how sad she is. Can you please put a blanket on me? Okay, I can put a blanket on you. There you go. She doesn't speak with language. She speaks with sad puppy dog eyes. I want a blanket on top of me. Jason Blackwell, Houston. What part of your computer works overtime? The keyboard. It always has 2 shifts. Although, Jason, your meme for this week was really good. I'll give it to you. If you want to see Jason's memes, get a Blue Sky code. Join Blue Sky. Follow Jason Blackwell, and you see his goofy memes every Friday. Jay Geyser. I like to buy BBBY before the stock dividend merger, etc. How possible do you think it is? Or is it going to go straight to export market and $100 per share, or straight to existing gets Lego, etc.? Not a clue. I mean, let's say they do something favorable, that where other shareholders can now get involved and enjoy the party, right? So they produce new BBBY stock because they're doing something with Bye Bye Baby, whatever. So yeah, new BBBY stock goes out to all the shareholders, and it goes back to the NASDAQ or something. And with it will likely come cash. Send 10, 12, 25, $30, whatever per share to the shareholders, because they want a high valuation of this thing, which means it's going to come when it gets back to the market, it will have a high valuation. That's probably the best case scenario for the shorts in this case, is just that. I don't think you'll be able to find it for like 7 cents when it comes back. I think it will probably be in the tens of dollars when it finally makes the market. And it, if they allow pre-market, it may pump already. What I think is likely to happen is there's cash payout to shareholders, and then there's multiple companies that will be dispersed as well. Equity will be dispersed for multiple companies for their shareholders. And which companies are? Baby, Teddy, I don't know. Could be multiple companies. Jimmy, Lego, Taylor Swift, SpaceX, who knows? And those companies spool out, and the price on everything is just going to be insane. So I don't necessarily see a way that this trade is going to work, because I don't think this is going to be like Hertz, where it'll be on the OTC for a couple of weeks, starting at 44 cents and then working its way up when they file like an S1 that says, hey, we're going to be evaluating this stock at $13 or whatever, and then flew from there and did a little squeeze. And before it got to back to the NASDAQ, where was that, like $35 by then? But it had squeezed like $44 falls on the OTC before it re-entered the NASDAQ. I don't think it's going to be quite. I think that they're probably going to attach a value to it before they ever let it trade again, and they'll likely send new equity with it. So I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a speculation station. Like, try to think about what possibilities could be there, and go, yeah, it seems plausible. That's the best we can do until we see their actual game plan. We have no idea, man. We sit, we twiddle our thumbs, we sip our water, we wear our shiny shirts, we put blankets on our dogs, and that's it. Welcome. All right. Las Waves, great UFC fights last night. Cool. Las Waves, do you know any music theory? Enough to get me in trouble. It's been a long, long time since I did that, since I had my music courses in college. But I don't know if you want to ask a question on that. Derek Horse, listening to Wilson Phillips. Hold on, give me that sweet bread. Scott Pullen, just finished holiday shopping for friends, family on GameStop website by cruising the clearance section. Some great deals and tons of good stocking stuffers. A few hundred goes a long way at GME. Word. Scott Pullen, so many $5 to $10 items that are good for kids. Noted. Head on over there. And for some reason, GameStop has super cheap batteries like AA, AAA, DC, all the odd size watch batteries, 303, 123, 2016, 2025. Better prices and selection than in my local hardware store. Scott Pollen doing marketing for GameStop. Sincere 206 Sunday. Is there breaking news? Is MOASS starting early? Will U.S. politicians grow a pair? Find out next time on Houston with Problem. None of the above. I just didn't do a show on Friday, so I'm doing one today. Kelly Reed, higher for longer. Bank of Canada deputy says ultra low rates will not return, so economic collapse coming. If the economy craters, I expect banks to cut rates aggressively. Fed gaslighting public. Canada's pretty boned, especially as these mortgages start to reset in January. It's going to be rough for a lot of buyers. Bitcoin, could you review GME speculation again? Make me feel rich. Well, I mean, which speculation? The fact that they've got $1.5 billion in the bank. They're probably going to announce one hell of a profitable fourth quarter come January, February, whenever they do their earnings there, which they did last year and beat expectations, and the stock price flew like $10 overnight. All right, so GameStop is overshorted by probably billions and billions of shares. And in recent weeks, since Bed Bath & Beyond is no longer tradable, they started hammering GameStop, specifically GameStop, in comparison. Like, oh, we can hammer this guy down to 7 cents. Oh, we can't do it anymore? We're going to attack GameStop again because that's our last resort. And they're on their last resort. So they hammered the price down from 20-something down to, what, $12.50, $13, wherever it is right now. Where are you, GameStop? $12.54. So cheap. Oh my gosh. So they're hammering their way down. Each quarter, they're beating their earnings, right? And they get hammered. They beat their earnings, get hammered. But their earnings are always like, oh, we're minus 1 cent a share. Oh, we almost made a profit. We're so close. I have a feeling that they're doing some really creative accounting and shuffling stuff around and moving expenditures one way or the other to make it look like they're losing money, but only just enough so that when quarter four comes around and they're up 13 to 20 cents per share on their earnings per share, they can show that they're profitable for the entire year off of that, which is what most companies do. Most retailers, fourth quarter is their moneymaker because that's Christmas. That's when everyone buys things. It's the make or break for all these companies. We've got a pretty long Christmas period. We have like the fourth Thursday of Thanksgiving is kind of early in the month in comparison to other years. So we got a pretty long Christmas season. So just looking at their fundamentals, I have a feeling the GameStop's going to want to start offering a dividend. But their earnings this summer, they talked about merger acquisition 98 times in their filing documents. So they talked about merger acquisition 98 times, basically saying, we're going to merger and acquire somebody. Hint, hint, wink, 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 wink. So they freed up a whole bunch of potential debt. It's like they paid off their debt. Now they got a whole bunch of loans lined up in case they need to use it for something, for merger acquisition. Maybe they're buying Beyond or whatever. And I think they're going to make G-America. They're going to make this large company in Keiretsu format where they can share distribution centers for multiple companies. These giant warehouses. They could be used for video games, furniture, toys, baby stuff, auto parts. I don't know. And they can use the same distribution system. So while you have these giant Amazon warehouses, you're buying things from Amazon, you could be buying from companies and have no idea that they're part of the umbrella company, right? Like, I'm going to go to Dream On Me and buy some baby stuff, having no clue that they're part of a larger conglomerate that are sharing all these warehouses and distribution networks. And, you know, one of the plans that Ryan Cohen, I think, had for Bed Bath & Beyond was utilizing the large space of their storefronts to do local distribution for online orders. Let's say you live within 30 miles of a Bed Bath & Beyond. You could order your stuff online, and then the distributor, would be the store that's near you, and they would do the distribution, the last mile distribution. That kind of got ruined when the board fought back on Ryan Cohen's plans. But, so, anyway. GameStop is heavily shorted. The minute there is something that can give a huge boost to the share price, dividend, merger acquisition, huge earnings for fourth quarter especially, those things will cause the share price to jump, which will hurt the margin of everyone who's been shorting it still. And those folks are in the middle of a liquidity crunch. They're in a credit crunch and a liquidity crunch. It means there's not much cash to go around. So if they get the margin call, it's like, hey, you've exceeded your margin. You now need to come up with like $10 billion to make sure we don't have to liquidate you. Normally, hedge funds go, that's okay. And they call somebody and they get $10 billion investment and they're cool. There's no money to go around. The banks don't have the money. The billionaires don't have the money. Their clients don't have the money. There's no cash. Cash is gone. They're in a liquidity crunch. So if, say, a dividend comes around or cash payment from one of these other companies they've shorted, then whatever cash they have on hand disappears, gets sucked out of their hedge fund to be used as payment in lieu on all the shorts they generated. Then the value of the stock goes wonk on that news as well, causing those margin calls to happen, causing their lenders to call them, and when they do the margin calls, hey, come with some liquidity, and they won't be able to, which means they're going to liquidate it until they can close out their positions. But the assets they have on hand are so tiny compared to their liabilities. You know, liabilities are way up here. Their assets are down here. They're just going to blink out of existence, and then it's going to be the burden of the big banks, which is why UBS is in such trouble, because they stupidly bought all of the liabilities that Credit Suisse had. Credit Suisse no longer exists, right? They're gone. Poof. And they're gone almost entirely on GME swaps and what's his name? Huang, who had Archegos. Like, the liabilities from Archegos are damaging one of the largest banks in the entire world still. And that's just one family fund, one medium-sized family fund. He only had $800 million in assets, right? $800 million. You're like, oh, that's a lot of money. It's enough to like build a stadium, right? That should not cause a bank to go under. But the $800 million in assets can be used to borrow like $32 billion on margin. That is what's doing all these groups under. And Archegos is just one of these little guys, just one of these tiny little family funds. There's another 5,000 family funds out there. There's another 8 or 10,000 hedge funds, all doing the exact same thing, all over leverage to the tune of 30 to 1. Now, you take all the hedge funds on Earth and the family funds on Earth, you put them together, they're worth, what, 10 trillion? Okay. So they're worth $10 trillion, multiplied by 30. So now they're $300 trillion in liability just on these family funds and hedge funds. So one of these guys goes down, they get liquidated, causing the price to skyrocket on something because they're having to close out. It's going to happen to every single solitary hedge fund along the line because they all do the same stuff. None of them are creative. They all short the exact same companies over and over and over. Oh, like I short that one, I'll short it too. Oh, I short that one, I'm short that one also. So that when one of these guys go, they all go. They're little termites. They have to follow each other around. They have no creativity. They've just been doing what's been working for them since 1990 when they discovered how to make synthetic shares using the FAST system. And that's all they've done ever since. So there we are. Okay. Jose Rosario, what's the political fallout will be for this play? A lot. It's going to give the opportunity for people who are pro regulation to really step forward and point at the folks who are against regulation and be like, look, all the problems we've had are because of these guys right here not allowing us to regulate the markets. So we're going to regulate the shit out of the market now and make sure that this stuff doesn't happen again. And those people, they're going to go up here like this, and the other guys go, I'm responsible for this. So there we go. Belgian Whale, I think quarter 3 is going to be profitable. Got calls. There, that's bullish. Meow meow. The picture of you as a child was revealing. Your head was huge, so you had to grow into that brain. It's more, dude. As a child, people call me Dumbo. They call me Dumbo. My ears, these ears right here, these guys are the exact same size as they were when I was born. I'll find a baby picture. Like the ears is like 90% of my head as a baby. I was called Dumbo until I hit puberty and my head finally grew. So then people stopped calling me Dumbo. I mean, my ears are not small, but they are not like they were when I was a wee child, where they were just like this. They don't stick out like they used to. They're much more flat against my head than they were as a child. It's weird. I morphed. C. Jefferson 3, Houston Rock. Thank you. Billy Mac, JIT. Oh, that means. Can I read higher for longer? Bank of Canada deputy says ultra low rates. Oh, I did that one already. Oh, I read that one already. All right. BOFH. So ours got the behinds kicked up and down the ballots last Tuesday. So naturally, the mainstream media spin machine is going full force explaining how this is bad for Democrats. Yeah. I think the biggest mistake, regardless of your view on it, whether you are for or against abortion, I think that the Republicans politically made a giant mistake by actually overturning Roe v. Wade, because they could campaign in the primaries and stuff as like, oh, I'm going to overturn Roe v. Wade, abortion is murder, and they could get into office on that. And a lot of people, especially Catholics, who might be more socially on the left of things, except when it comes to that single issue of abortion, would hold their nose and vote for Republican candidates because they would get rid of abortion. But now that they got rid of abortion, there's no reason to vote for those guys anymore. So those people can vote over here. And abortion is incredibly popular. Something like 75% of people in the United States think that women should have access to abortion. So on a broader range, there are more women than there are men in America. There's like 51% women, 49% men. Women vote in higher numbers than men do. So there's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of women who are socially conservative, but still want access to abortion. Because most women who get abortions are Catholic and evangelical. Why? Because they don't have condoms. They're told, abstain. You shouldn't use condoms. If you have condoms, you're going to have sex. And so as young women, they don't have condoms. The men don't have condoms. And you know what happens? Everyone gets horny and has sex anyway. And because these young women are not prepared, they get pregnant. And they're in families where you cannot have premarital sex. It's a sin. You're going to hell. And so they had to hide it from their family and go get an abortion somewhere and not tell anyone about it. You can look at the stats. It's like 75% of women who have abortions are evangelical or Catholic, because those are the folks least prepared to have premarital sex, and they're going to have everyone has premarital sex. It just happens. Everyone gets horny. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to do it anyway. Because our hormones are way stronger than our lizard brains when it's presenting it to us. And they know that. And so even deeply conservative states like Oklahoma and Kansas voted to keep abortion legal by huge margins, because everyone knows you can say, I'm against abortion. I'm going to go against abortion. Dude, half the women you'll find protesting at an anti-abortion rally have had abortions. They just didn't tell anyone. They're like, keep it on the down low. Because 1 in 4 women have an abortion in their lifetime. 1 in 4. That's a lot of women have abortions. But it's because it's necessary. People in this economy, they don't have the money to raise kids, right? People have been putting off marriage and having kids for years because what their take home compared to their living expenses is so insane they can't afford to get married or have kids. So, these groups these like traditional groups are like, we should all be having kids like crazy. Okay, why don't you make a world where people can afford to do that? Instead, you're supporting politicians who are supporting guys like Ken Griffin. I saw Ken Griffin at the football game today, sitting next to George W. But you vote for a Republican in this presidential election, you're probably basically voting for Griffin, who's the largest single donor to Republican causes. So, if you hate Griffin or you don't, well, that should tell you the litmus test as to where you're going in this next election cycle. But I think Bashir in Kentucky won entirely on the abortion issue because the Republicans elsewhere won every other race in that thing. But he was like, I'm going to keep abortion legal in Kentucky. People were like, good enough for me. So that's a big mistake for Republicans. They can no longer campaign on making abortion illegal because they did it already. And it turns out most people want access to abortions. So they're going to now move to the other side and vote for people to give them access to abortions. So what happens when you finally accomplish the thing that's not that popular. Sujo, Suljo, you saying news on S1? Nothing yet. I'm gonna check Edgar right now. Anything on Edgar? Refresh, and nope, still no filings. No filings since September 29th. I think the 20th. Is that a Monday or is it Tuesday? 20th? 20th is a Monday. So next Monday, I think, is the final day that the plan administrator can amend the plan for the bankruptcy. So someone said they can appeal and ask for another 18 months or something. I don't know why they would want to do that. I think they want to just get this crap done with. So like I keep putting in the description, this week is just going to keep getting weirder. Each week, weird things happen. And we go, never thought that could happen. So here we are, having weird weeks over and over and over again. Okay. G-Font, thoughts on November 17th calls if we get big announcement on Gme on the 15th. I mean, that's definitely a gamble for the weeklies. When is the quarter 3 earnings for each GameStop? GME Q3 earnings report. Quarter 2. They haven't done quarter 3. When is the quarter 3 supposed to happen? I can't find the date. The website doesn't have it. December 6th. So we won't get quarter 3 until December 6th. Okay. They're pushing that one out there, aren't they? I mean, it's a gamble. You're getting weekly, so they're going to be cheap. Just know that, if you want to preserve, if you want to be have the best chance at not losing money on those, you're going to get them as close to in the money as possible. So it's trading at $12.50 or whatever, get $13 ones. Because there's a good chance that you can pump it over 13 and just get your money back and you're cool. But I wouldn't drop thousands of dollars of something that's way out of the money. Be like, okay, it's going to go to $1 million by Friday. So I'm going to get $125 calls. I wouldn't do that personally. You might get a whole bunch of them for real cheap, for pennies each, and then, be the luckiest man in the entire world. But you got to hedge that bet a little bit. If you want to be a degenerate gambler, by all means, be a degenerate gambler. That's your thing to do. Have some fun with it. But I probably won't be going in on weeklies. If I buy a boatload of calls at the moment, I'd probably do half close to being in the money but like 2 months out. And the rest maybe something that's way out of the money, farther away, and cost 1 to 5 cents per share, and just get a boatload of those and be like, eh. Because if the price does go up, let's say the price goes back to $20, that 1 cent a share you bought might go to like 10 cents a share, and you just 10 extra money regardless. So even if it doesn't achieve your goals, there's still some time in there to get something out of it. Oh, Milkman, Hurricane Debbie is starting to look bad over in Ireland as well. They're getting hurricane. I have not been paying attention to my original hurricane center. Oh, I don't. It's not showing me Hurricane Debbie. Heavy rain, strong winds, Ireland, 10 hours ago. Storm Debbie. They're not giving it the hurricane name because it's too far north. Forecasters issued yellow warning for the entire island. Stronger warning of severe damaging gusts for 18 Irish counties. Irish Meteorological Agency has issued a yellow warning for wind and rain across the entire country Monday. Strong warning also applies to the majority of the population because of the risk of severe and damaging gusts Sunday night. That's happening like right now. Very windy, stormy. Not giving me any numbers here though. Just saying it's going to be windy. Not saying anything else. Considered a violent storm between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. for Valencia Loop Head and Sline Head. I hate it when they don't give me numbers on what the wind is, because that doesn't, like, for some places really windy is like 40 miles an hour. For other places really windy is 100 miles an hour. And I would like to know what people consider really windy. 130 kph. Okay, so that's like 70 mile an hour winds. That's pretty good. There we go. Seawalls. Oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. Seawalls are getting battered. So Storm Debbie, 80 mile per hour winds, large areas of the island. Well, yellow warning, Northern County, blah, 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 blah. Expires at 5 a.m., which is right about now. So they should be getting over the bad parts of it right about now. Noted. All right. Interesting. Big waves. Okay. Oh, I'm finally at the beginning of the show, so I'm an hour behind. Yeah, there we go. Frost Giant this week shaped to be a big week. Keep those fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, twiddle thumbs. Twiddle thumbs with the fingers crossed. Confidence and Homer, do you think GME DRS let pressure off the system? Man, there was crazy volatility all the way up until the point where people started DRSing everything. We were getting swings where if you were playing options, you could make so much money. And we're talking, swings of $150 in a day on the stock. Like, I remember at one point, March 2021, the stock price went to like $350, dropped to, 140, and then bounced up to like 280, all in like 30 minutes. Like, if you were playing options that time, you could have been a millionaire in like a 1 hour period. Let's say you bought a decent call, just one call back in February for April or something. Stock was trading at $30. You buy a call for $40, $50. That's strike price. You bought it for $100, whatever. And that call suddenly became worth, $25,000. $30,000, and you sold at $350, and then you bought a put. Immediately bought a put. Hit $350. I'm gonna buy a put right now at around $350. So I bought several of them. With $25,000, you could buy probably 20 to 30 of them, right? And it drops down to like 140. So you just made 20 grand off those 20 or 30 of those things. So now you're sitting at $400,000, somewhere around there. You got $400,000 and you buy another call for later out, for maybe May or something. And immediately stock price jumps to 250. So you just made another $10,000 off of, you got $400,000. You can buy probably 500 or more calls. They're pretty close to being in the money, unless you bought some, they're higher up. So you're at 500 of those suckers, made another 10,000 on them. So now you're at $50 million in 3 trades. Like, way to go, right? You're doing pretty darn good. Oh, sorry, $5 million. $5 million in 3 trades, starting with like $100. So what they took from us by pushing DRS starting in winter 2022 was the volatility. The volatility seems to have vanished. And why it vanished, I don't necessarily know, but it's gone now. It's a bummer. I would like to be able to make oodles of money off of playing the huge predictable swings. And then we were getting like every 3 months, the stock price hit 350 and then dropped back down to like $100 and then hit 350 again. And it was doing that cycle for a year. And then poof, gone. Gone was the volatility. And we just like plugged at $20 and bounced up and down on either side of that without too much volatility happening the entire time. But yeah, I don't know what mechanism caused that volatility to disappear, but it did. Okay. KYP Houston, what's with this TZero BBYQ? So TZero is the blockchain trading exchange for potentially for stocks that exists. 20% ownership is owned by BYON Overstock. They just released a whole bunch of trademarks for trading other things like video games and music and movies and stuff, which is what their GameStop wallet was working on. And they opened up the GameStop store this week, so you can download video games from GameStop for your computer and play them that way, just like you do with Steam or what's the, I can't remember all the other ones. Sony has one and Activision has one and whatever. But I think their goal is eventually having these NFT'd games so that you can resell them back on the market and someone can buy them. It's just speculation on Sal's part that because TZero is getting into that, and we also might be blockchaining stocks to it, that GameStop will be interested in acquiring Overstock as part of their larger umbrella doing all this, because all that tech can merge into one and be used that way. Wheezgy? Pulte on fire tonight? I can't contain myself. I cannot believe he's been doing that many I can references. Confidence and Homer. Any chance MMT can go to do chapter and come out ahead? I cannot talk about that for another 5 months. Oh, beginning of October. Another 4.5 months. And I can talk about MMT. But, is what I'll say. Dad jokes, rad jokes. Court Seefu. Game over winning. What's that, little monster face? Talking about Doug Cifu? Doug Cifu, Z Trades, Pulte responding on X regarding giving gifts for Christmas. Thanks, I can do it, but if you help, we can help more people. If anyone can reach out to Pulte for me, have him come on for the charity show. We'll get some Toys for Tots. We will set some Toys for Tot records for sure. Talon 4 began to suffer from thumb twiddleitis. I already suffer from thumb twiddleitis. I had to wear that thing on my brace on my thumb last week. So now it's feeling good. It's not doing that weird clicky thing anymore. So I'm doing all right. Oh, and there's the reset of the chat. Okay, where'd we go? How did I lose my spot so far? Man, I'm really far behind, aren't I? Okay. There's Talvin. Okay. Christopher Stedman, Houston. If no one has told you lately, you demand. Regarding BBYQ, my thumbs are sore. When is best guess to our payday? Man. I just, there's got to be a day eventually where we're going to get the nail in the coffin. Either it's going to be the nail in the coffin for us or the nail in the coffin for them. That's the zero hero part. Nothing we can do about it. If you're invested in this, you're invested, and you just got to sit and wait for what's going to come. If there's a SEC filing that comes out and is like, shareholders are dead, we don't care about the NOLs, this company's toast. That's it. We're done. Then we know. Or there's an S1 that comes out and is like, hey, we're restructuring our stock. We're going to be issuing new shares in this and new shares in that. We're going to be doing a cash disbursement of this thing. And then, the nail's in the coffin for them. It is really like flipping a coin at this point. I do think the coin's a little more weighted to our side because there aren't any fee statements saying like, kill it all. Spent 4 hours in discovering how to kill everything in this company and let it die. We didn't see any fee statements like that. Every single fee statement is, discussions with activist investor, discussions with activist investor about their lawsuit, discussions with, large shareholders about preserving their equity, looking at maintaining NOLs, calculating NOLs, talking to creditors about acquiring NOLs, maintaining shareholder equity so that we can use NOLs, merger acquisition, reverse merger, SPAC opportunities, blah, 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 blah. Every single solitary fee statement from these lawyers and these consultants all point towards merger acquisition, maintaining NOLs, and not towards complete liquidation, company no longer exists, shorts win. This isn't a normal bankruptcy play. This is a revenge film. That's what I firmly believe. So here we are. Scott Lumley, happy Dearth Bay, Houston. What comes first, Show 400 or MOASS? Also, when we find the MOASS, what super extravagant thing are you going to buy aside from the dolphin statue? Well, four-wheel drive RV. Boom. Four-wheel drive RV, dolphin statue. I'll probably get my eyes lasered. So I don't have to wear glasses anymore. That'd be a nice expense. Because my pretty baby, people have to appreciate my pretty baby blues, and they don't when I'm wearing glasses. So, going to have to get those things zip-zapped. Depending on what, if I get retirement money, like, hey, I don't have to work again, I can live off of this stuff pretty comfortably, I will probably travel a whole bunch. I may, I'd probably get a home and do things like that. If it is stupid money, like ridiculous amounts of money that I happen to get out of this, like fuck you money, I will be spending a great chunk of my year skiing in exotic locations, spending a lot of money. Skiing's not cheap. So, ski and scout lodges, hotels, fancy skis, getting a membership at the Yellowstone Club. I don't know. Cool stuff. So that's probably the extravagant stuff. I will have a lot of shit boxes. I'll have a very large garage full of a whole bunch of 1980s and 1990s crappy cars that, for some reason, I love. So there'll be that. I'll probably make sure that my siblings can all kind of retire and do their thing as well if they want to. I don't know, monkey. Think of anything? You don't need much. You want lots of walks. And that's all you care about. So a lot of walks. Those are cheap. I will definitely, and I talked about this before, like, I don't know how I'm going to break the poverty circuit in my brain. Right? Like, go to the grocery store and you don't buy what you want, you buy what you need. Right? Like, oh, Heinz ketchup is $5 for the 24-ounce bottle, but it's $2 for the Safeway brand. I get the Safeway brand one, right? Like I can't buy the fancy pickles. I got to buy the Safeway brand, the store brand pickles, store brand mustard, like cheapest ramen noodles on sale. You pass by the meat section and you get whatever chicken is the cheapest, but you go, oh, that filet mignon, but it's like $35 a pound. No filet mignon for me. I don't know, and I hope I can overcome it, but I don't know if it might take me a while to like go to the grocery store and buy the things I want. Like I want that filet mignon. I can afford it. I'm earning, X number of dollars a day in interest on all of my investments. So as long as I don't spend more than $100,000 a day, I'm making money. So I can buy a filet mignon for $35, and who gives a shit, right? That's the type of thing that try to fix the brain and figure out how to get over that, because I don't know, like enjoy life. That's probably the biggest luxury that we could have, is just enjoy life, man. You use it to you can buy your like submarine underground lair, become a Bond villain or whatever, if that's what floats your boat. But help those around you, help those in need it, live that comfortable life that you finally get to experience. I'm sure a lot of us will have that little honeymoon phase that retirees have, where like, hey, did all the things, and now what? I've done all the things I wanted to do, and now I'm bored. And you look for things to do. Well, that might be philanthropy. That might be starting a new business. That might be, I don't know, building birdhouses or something. Like you're gonna find the things that you want to do, and you're gonna have the means to do them. So you may as well do it, right? We'll figure it out. We'll get there. Okay. The dude cometh. Yes, you did win a Blue Sky code. Send me a note on Reddit, and I'll send you a code, and you can sign up and get a Blue Sky. Be on Blue Sky. It's a new social media site similar to Twitter without the Nazis. So there you go. Confidence Homer, did you watch the First Amendment audit of the Bainbridge Post Office? I did not. I could not find the video you were talking about. You have to send me a link for the video, because I searched for it and I didn't find anything. Confusing Houston, do you think the government will likely shut down soon? They have until Friday, right? They have to come up with a spending bill, or at least a temporary one, by Friday. The wackadoodles, the Matt Gaetz group, the wackadoodles over there on the far right, they're going to pressure Johnson, who's a wackadoodle himself, into like, let's shut down the government. And we may end up shutting down the government. Or we may get some sort of little small, like 45-day spending bill through to make us last until end of January or something. But I think it's pretty high likelihood, because the Congress is controlled by the craziest assholes in the country. and there's like 20 people holding the rest of the House of Representatives hostage. And the entire reason that McCarthy's out is because of these 20 crazy people. And the 20 crazy people got another crazy guy in there. And if he doesn't do what they want, they're going to kick him out again. And there's going to be a whole other leadership problem, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I think a shutdown is very likely. And just in time for the Christmas season, is that you want the largest employer in the entire country to all of a sudden not be issuing paychecks to people right at Christmas. That's a great way to make sure the economy does really well. Worked so well in 2017, didn't it? When the Dow like collapsed and Trump got his tax cuts through, and then they got absolutely trounced in the midterms that year. Shutting down the government is not the way to run the government. And anyone who shuts down the government regularly ends up losing power, because people want their government to work. That's regardless of what your political persuasion is. You're like, am I going to vote for people who actively shut down the government, or am I going to vote for people who make the government work? And if your choices are those two, the ones that try to make the government work generally win in those midterm elections when you shut down the government. So, but these guys are stupid and they'll probably shut down the government. Damn Rec Red, awesome shirt, thank you. Orion 1 XYZ Pine Gap is a joint American Australian Area 51. It is. I thought the TV show was pretty decent. The Pine Gap TV show. It's on Netflix, and I was bummed that they didn't make a second season of it. But because it was like advertising me like crazy. Hey, watch the show, watch the show, watch the show. And so I watched it, and then it ended, and I was like, cool, next season. Oh, there is no next season. Oh, but I thought it was creative writing, the acting, kind of actors for some of them, but I can see where they're going with it. Super Steve, could you quickly run through the BBYQ Butterfly Saga, overstock buying, the BBY name, and how we come out on top? Sorry if you have already explained that a million times. I've already explained it a million times, but here's how it probably works. Ryan Cohen identified Bed Bath & Beyond as having a shitty board and had a potential to unlock a bunch of money for shareholders. If you could just get rid of the shitty board and get them to start doing things for the shareholders. Because Mark Tritton, who was the CEO of Bed Bath & Beyond at the time, was a Boston Consulting Group plant. And if you watched the show before, if you've done any reading on that, when companies are in trouble, right, they hire a consulting group like Boston Consulting to come in and say, hey, how do we improve our company? And they're usually hired by hedge fund plants working on the board or in the executive leadership. And Boston Consulting Group says, all right, what does it really want me to do? And they're like, we want you to figure out a way to destroy this company from the inside. Boston Consulting Group's like, gotcha, fam. And what they do is, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to recommend you spend boatloads of money on share buybacks while selling off your real estate and selling off your brands. And then the board goes, well, it said we have to do this, and this is what we'll pay them for, so let's start doing it. And then they say, oh, also, you should probably hire this guy as your CEO. He used to work for us. And they go, right on. So they hire that guy. And then they start doing, it's one thing to do stock buybacks when you have $100 billion in cash on hand. It's another thing to do stock buybacks when you don't have any cash on hand, right? You might temporarily cause a boost in the stock price, but it's not a long lasting one for shareholders. And what that does is it allows shorts to have a really high price to start shorting from. So they did $11.8 billion in stock buybacks. The stock went to $80. And that's where the shorts started shorting like crazy, because from that moment forward, Mark Tritton was working for the short hedge funds, and he was doing everything he could to devalue the stock. Hey, how about instead of buying enough stock for our stores, we do another stock buyback? And they're like, oh, good idea. And they do another stock buyback. And then they're like, oh, we don't have enough money to pay our vendors, so we have to shut 20% of our stores to save money. Okay, you shut 20% of your stores, and all of a sudden you lose 20% of your sales. Stock drops even more. And then you're like, you know what we'll do? We're going to do a stock for equity thing or debt for equity thing. And then your big creditor, JP Morgan, who's in on it, goes, no. And you destroy the company from the inside. So Ryan Cohen was trying to change this. Ryan Cohen was trying to get people on the board, start unlocking value. So he's in a proxy fight with the board. He managed to get 3 people through, including Sue Gov, the new CEO. So Tritton's out, got 2 more people, but now there's 6 other hedge fund plants that are fighting the 3 people on your board, and they won. They straight up, they beat Ryan Cohen, and he was like, all right, plan B. I'm going to sell my stock, get the hell out of here. That's what everyone thought. But it appears Ryan Cohen sold the stock and then bought up all their debt, or as much as he could of their debt. So that, because he saw the company's going to bankruptcy, and he still wants it. He still wants Bye Bye Baby, especially. And so through a proxy through 6th Street, as we believe, Ryan Cohen now owns a huge amount of their debt and funded their bankruptcy, basically. Perhaps in tandem with Carl Icahn. So the company goes into bankruptcy. The bankruptcy originally thought they're going to sell the company to somebody. But they sold IP and not the company itself. They sold IP of Overstock, and they sold IP of Bye Bye Baby. Sorry, so IP of Bed Bath & Beyond and Bye Bye Baby. Overstock bought Bed Bath for pennies, bought their IP, and now they are Bed Bath & Beyond. They changed their name. Bye Bye Baby was purchased by Dream on Me, this weird kind of small, tiny little company that somehow came up with enough money to buy this IP. They didn't have the highest bid, they had the second highest bid, but they were selected by the creditors to be like, no, we don't want you to win it. We want you to win it specifically, because the creditors could choose who would win. So they bought the Bye Bye Baby IP in 11 stores, I believe. It's been theorized that Ryan Cohen may be the money behind Dream on Me in the purchase of that. They were purchased by a Miami shell company a couple of years ago. The Miami shell company happens to be in the same location as like the registered agent for Ryan Cohen Ventures, and et cetera. So, interesting. Now we're going to bankruptcy. They're selling off leases to stores. They maintain 30-something leases, I believe. That's their subsidiaries in all those states you see, like DK Butterfly 2, DK Butterfly 3, all the way through like DK Butterfly like 78 or something. And at least 3 large distribution centers, I believe. Now, the value in going into bankruptcy is that now you can be used almost as a SPAC for a reverse merger. So somebody who wants to go public or somebody who wants to acquire your net operating losses so they don't have to pay taxes on stuff, they're going to say, okay, that's the value here. Now, BBBYQ maintains 63 employees, all in the accounting department, and they spent $2 million relocating them somewhere. These are all payments approved by the creditors in the court. It's like, hey, we're going to maintain this accounting department, and we're going to pay them $2 million so they can relocate to somewhere else and do their work. And the creditors are like, cool, works for us. Now, if you're going to be a going concern, right? You're going to be a company that merges out of this thing, and you want to preserve those NOLs. You have to be a continuous business, and to be a continuous business, you have to maintain those 63 accountants who are doing all this math numbership for you, and that is what people are going to reverse merger into in order to capture those net operating losses. Those net operating losses we talked about a little bit earlier. They're probably in the high billions, like definitely more than 1.5 billion that was listed for just 2022 alone, the first 9 months of 2022, likely over $10 billion in net operating losses. This means that if you are a profitable company and you reverse merger into this BBBY entity, you make $10 billion in profit, you can write that off and not have to pay taxes on it. And it rolls over year over year. So if you make $1 billion in profit, you can write off that $1 billion profit, or actually 80% of it. And then whatever's left could be used the next year and the next year and next year, so on. And that's where the huge value is. And that's how Berkshire Hathaway got large. That's what Carl Icahn used in a lot of his plays was the net operating losses to basically write off any of the profits they made by doing these shareholder plays, these proxy plays they do. Okay, this is where things get squirrely, because we saw $10.8 billion suddenly appear in the accounts at the end of October for Bed Bath & Beyond as his new administrative debt has appeared. The company only had $5 billion in debt, and most of that was leases. They sold off the leases. They're down to $1.5 billion in debt, some secured, some unsecured. And the filings pointed to those $1.5 billion in debt, those creditors being made whole. So why suddenly would they go out and borrow $10.8 billion if they don't have anything? So the speculation now is that a chunk of that $10.8 billion was used to make a whole bunch of the creditors whole. People didn't want involved in your NOL play or whatever. People might be sketchy, might be work for short hedge funds, etc. And you want to have a whole bunch of cash on hand, because if you're going to issue new stock, you're going to do a reverse merger, you're going to want to establish a huge value to that stock right away. And so I think, some people think, a lot of us think that 10.8 billion or whatever's left over is going to be used as a cash payout for existing shareholders to establish a really high value to whatever new equity is issued to them. This cash value will immediately vaporize the liquidity that the short hedge funds have, because they're going to owe that as payment in lieu for all the short shares they generated, which they could have generated billions of short shares in this bankruptcy. Billions. So if they generated 5 billion short shares that they're going to owe on a payment in lieu on, and let's just say that the payment's $10, right? That $5 billion suddenly is $50 billion in cash they got to come up with. They don't have $50 billion in cash. They don't, if they do, they got to spend it. They got to spend that payment in lieu. And so any liquidity they have in their accounts, gone, poof, that's it. And now you have a stock that's worth at least $10 that they've been shorting at 7 cents, 10 cents or whatever. So they're now, 100 to 1,000 times underwater on that short play they did. But if there's new equity in multiple companies coming out, each one of those companies have valuations at $15, $25, $50, $100 or whatever, you might be looking at $300 in liability per 10-cent stock you shorted. You're screwed. You're going to get margin called. Your lender's going to call and say, hey, you need to come up with cash to meet your liquidity requirements. And then the short is going to go, okay, I'll try. And they're like, yeah, till tomorrow at 4, got 24 hours. And they're going to go out and they're going to call everyone they can. Hey, got cash, got cash, got cash, got cash. No one has cash. We are in a liquidity crunch. We're in a credit crunch. No one has money. There is no money to hand out to these guys, right? And so when 4 o'clock the next day comes around, they get liquidated because they can't come up with the cash to meet their margin. And by law, their lender has to liquidate them. So they're either seizing their assets and giving them a loan for those assets that's going to be used to buy up all these short shares, and then the company no longer exists because they're not going to be able to pay back that loan. Or they just sell all their assets out from under them, the broker does, and then force closes those positions, which is going to cause the stock price, which is already crazy high because of this distribution, right? To go to the moon, which anyone else who has not been margin called yet that's short on this thing is definitely get margin called now. Because now, rather than being like 30,000% underwater on this, you might be 3 million % underwater on it. And your margin just went from 30, 40 to 1 to like 500 to 1. And now you're getting margin called. It's going to be a chain reaction because all these hedge funds and all these family funds are a bunch of morons that do the same exact stupid thing. They all short the same companies over and over and over and over again. And they go, oh, that guy's shorting it, so I'm going to short it too. There's no creativity in there. And that is what we're hoping for. Will it work out that way? That's speculation station. But if I'm trying to be as evil and diabolical as I can towards short hedge funds, I would want something sort of like that to be the play. So scratch your beard, think and plot. If I were evil, what would I do? And think like an evil short destroyer. Because I don't think this is a normal bankruptcy play. I think this is a revenge film. And Carl Icahn and Ryan Cohen want to vaporize every short and want to result in a net change in how the SEC, DTCC, and FINRA operate in managing these shorts. And basically get rid of Reg Show entirely. That allows them to like sell naked, but you're not allowed to sell naked, but you can if you can identify shares, whatever. Just, you can't sell naked ever. I don't care if you're a market maker. I don't care if you're a hedge fund. No one can sell naked ever. You sell naked, you're going to prison. That should be the rule. And obliterating the entire stock market off the short play of one company is a great way to change that rule. And to like fundamentally change how we invest in this country and where our money comes from. Because right now we're a perfect machine at like making economic black holes. You buy stock in a few A-list companies, a few blue chips, and some U.S. treasuries, and then you can start destroying everyone else. And so anyone who comes along as a startup, as a mid-cap, small cap, you can obliterate them out of existence and destroy a whole bunch of lives and make a quick buck at it. And that is how our entire economy has run for the last like 40 years. That has been the entire MO of the market. And if all of a sudden you have a market that fosters ingenuity, that fosters entrepreneurship and wants to make sure these people have great jobs and move on with their lives and have strong, powerful American companies, you're going to have to eliminate naked short selling, because the incentive of all the money dudes is to make quick buck off everything. And the only way to make quick buck off everything is to destroy and smash. They're just Godzilla, just smashing shit and shooting nuclear breath. And that's not how you make a powerful modern country. Is like, hey, I succeeded and now 300,000 people lost their job, but I made $1 billion. Isn't that cool? we can do better, and we will do better. And I think this hopefully is a part and a step towards that. Doug Seafood, 5 heads sucks. Stuart Longley, Houston, won't we get back our BBYQ shares so that the shorts can close? Maybe. Or we might get new shares that they'll have to close with. Maybe they'll say something like, hey, everything's going to be on this TZero platform or on some other blockchain platform, but we're going to give you like 10 days to close all those shares out before we distribute the new shares in this blockchain to all your brokers. And that might force, position close only on things. That could be a way it happens. We'll see. Trey Spider, Houston, your thoughts on recent AMC share dilution? Adam Aaron sucks. He's so bad at this. Absolutely, he's so incredibly bad at doing this. Like, GameStop, their volatility, riding high, stock price is $300, hits 140, hits $300, whatever. They would slowly sell at the peak. 10 shares here, 1,000 shares there. They never sold like 10 million shares all at once. They never did that. Like, just dump it and crash the stock price. Not once. They just quietly sold over the course of months. And after the months were over, they announced like, hey, we're going to do some share sales here starting in January. And then come like May, 5 months later, like, hey, we finished our share sale and we're happy. We now have $1.5 billion in the bank account. What Adam Aaron does is all of a sudden he dumps like 25 million shares on the market at open and just crashes the stock price. That's the dumbest way you could possibly do it. So stupid. Like, if you aren't trying to destroy your stock price, then why are you doing everything you possibly can to destroy your stock price? Where he took it, like, they had really good earnings. They had really good earnings. Yeah, the shorts kind of hammered them after hours, but he could have waited. Like, yeah, sell a few shares here and there. He could sell slowly over the last 2 months, all the shares he needed to. And the stock price would have held pretty strong that entire time, right? Because it's hard to short shares in the market as a market maker if there's liquidity coming into the market anyway from the company itself. So you sell, 10,000 shares a day. Okay, do that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks until you meet your goal of 25 million shares or whatever. You don't have to do it all at once and absolutely just vaporize your share price. He's so bad at this. And he's never going to get removed because he's doing exactly what the shorts want him to do, which is be bad at his job. So, there you go. Also, there's video of him getting served for some lawsuit. I don't know what the lawsuit was about, but there's video of him getting served at his house that came out the other day. Kelly Reed, Korea's regulator chief. There's about 100 stocks targeted in naked short selling. He described it as not just a street with many broken windows, but rather a market where illegality has become so widespread that all windows are shattered. Yeah, the Koreans seem to be pretty on top of this. And conveniently, their no short selling rule lasts until a month after their election in May. So the stock market should be like going gangbusters that entire time. Coffee, Donuts, and Homer, are you still friends with that British guy that gave you your first taste of YouTube fame? Josh Hamilton? I mean, I'm not on Twitter anymore, so I don't have regular contact with him at the moment. I should bring him back on the show. We can talk about where things are going. I think I have his email. I hope Josh is doing well. But yeah, Treetop. Well, when you say anything non-MAGA on Twitter after Elon took over, you get banned. You have to speak in false propaganda and misinformation only. It seems that's kind of how it goes. The Guatepino family. Do you think MMTLP will ever get any type of resolution? I do. And the resolution may come from Congress forcing something to happen between SEC and FINRA. It may come from a negotiated settlement. It may come from the fact that NextBridge is finally drilling and producing oil to sell to market. So they're going to start having revenue come in. And they start having revenue come in, they can offer dividends. And when they can offer dividends, they can be really, really appealing for a large company to come in and buy them. At the moment, the recent purchases of oil fields in the area are going for about $30 billion per billion barrels of oil. And they have around 4 billion barrels of oil. So that would mean a $120 billion purchase. That's not too bad. That comes out to a healthy $500 a share, somewhere around there. Okay. That's one way to screw the shorts over. They're going to owe a payment in lieu of $500 a share. And if that happens. So, we sit and wait. I hope it's 2 days of trading, but I don't know if we'll ever get that. We might, can't hold on. I've got hope. Alexander K, we saw what happened in 2021 when a bunch of stimulus checks were spent on buying stocks. Imagine that buying pressure again if BBY gives a bunch of idiots some cash. Oh, dude. If people in this chat and in the PP board all end up with like hundreds of thousands of dollars, or some cases millions of dollars in cash all of a sudden, they're going to be going out and they're going to be buying GameStop with that. Okay, you get 10 million new investors in GameStop or whatever, and they all have $1,000 to spend. Cool. What happens if you've got 500,000 investors with hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend? Squeeze City, baby. That alone would be enough to squeeze GameStop. Even if GameStop isn't part of any of this, that would be enough to squeeze it. Shane E. HW, thanks again for the Blue Sky Escape. The labs did some moving last week. Oh, did you get Blue Sky Coach Shane E? I can't remember. I think I forgot to cross off your name, so I put you on the most recent list. But did you write me? You must have. So I'll cross you off the list. Where's my pen? What? Oh, there it is. Okay. Where's Shane E's name? Shane E, right there. Okay, I'm going to cross your name off the list and just assume that I gave it to you. And then forgot to take your name off. All right. No Labs did some moving last week. A sign that good news is coming. Yeah, they admitted some patent guys, some medical guys, and some marketing guys to their board. Like kick-ass dudes who have worked for huge companies that have, founders of CEOs of giant companies. I think it's a really good sign that these are not small-time dudes. These are big heavyweights in the medical device community, in the tech community, in the marketing community, and I think they're building up towards the revelation of good phase 3 trials. That's what I want. I want good phase 3 trials. Give it to me. Suljo, can we expect crypto to drop due to hedges needing liquidity, like BTC going under 10K maybe? Thanks, Houston. That's one of the canaries in the coal mine. Every time we've had some crazy liquidity happen has been preceded by a huge drop in crypto. One of the things to take the note is the crypto market has started to be keenly aware of when Tether prints, right? When Tether mints new coins, BTC flies. Now, the assumed charges that would be for the guys at Tether is that they mint billions of dollars in Tether coins and not have the backing behind it. Now remember, the feds can't find the cash that supposedly backs Tether. They can't. Tether did some internal audits and we got some treasuries and stuff. It still does not amount to the $80 billion that they're supposed to have backing this thing. And every single time they mint billions in Tether, it is immediately used to purchase Bitcoin, which causes Bitcoin to fly through the roof. The correlation is insane. There is let's see if I can find it. BDS. Is it BDS? BDS. Tether minting Bitcoin correlation. Oh, BDC. BDC Consulting. That's who it was. All right. So, new study finds that using US dollar Tether coin supply data to time Bitcoin market entries and exits can increase return on investment to 229%. Basically, they minted a whole bunch of Tether. That money must be getting used to buy Bitcoins, and Bitcoin's going to fly. Tether minted billions of dollars in new coins in this recent explosion of Bitcoin. The correlation is like you can map how much Tether mints compared to what the Bitcoin price is. Every single time Bitcoin flies, Tether mints a bunch of coins. Now, it could be legit. Like people are like, hey, I would like to buy $5 billion in Tether so that I may purchase $5 billion in Bitcoin. And Tether goes, cool, we'll mint that for you. But I think it's more likely that Tether just mints $5 billion in Bitcoin. There's no money behind it whatsoever. Or sorry, $5 billion in Tether. There's no money behind it, and they just buy a bunch of Bitcoin with it. And while it's screaming, they're selling Bitcoin and making cash or something. Like, there is something squirrely definitely going on between Tether. And Tether is just a crime. There's the crime syndicate. They minted all sorts of billions of dollars in coins and just gave it to Alameda Research. Alameda, it appears, never gave them cash for it. They did the same thing for Binance. They just minted billions of it and gave it to Binance. It doesn't appear that Binance gave them billions of dollars for those coins. There's no transaction. There's like, here, take this, have fun. So, yes. There's a whole bunch of ETFs. There's a whole bunch of hedge funds that invest in these things. If you're a hedge fund investing in Bitcoin, it does not count towards your collateral for your margin. So if you need to come up with liquidity really quick, you're going to sell your crypto. If you need to meet liquidity requirements. And this is when this was happening in 2021, we saw weird shit coins fly. What was the one? They went from 9 cents to $3,000 in one afternoon of trading. And it was just two hedge funds trading it back and forth to each other in Chicago. What was it? Oh, I can't remember what that coin was. XTX or something like that. Whatever. But we saw shitcoins do weird things in 2021 because these hedge funds would buy up like bajillions of these coins and then pump it back and forth to each other, cause the price to sort of skyrocket, giving themselves like billions of dollars in collateral, and then sell stuff in the market and make a bunch of money and crash the coin price. And then they could come up with their cash requirements they needed for meeting their liquidity. So yeah, we'll probably see lots of like negative volatility in crypto once they face margin calls. And then we'll see weird pumps of those shit coins all over again when they need to like get more cash on hand. So yes, excellent observation, Suljo. I'm now an hour and like 30 minutes behind the chat. So, whoo. Crispy 101 Houston, any thoughts on Wealthsimple selling BBYQ twice, then buying back once on October 20th, 24th? I don't know about that. Send me an article. I didn't hear about that at all. Chet Tremendous X says AMC will drop to $5 and then covering in a long Tesla like squeeze up to 1,000 by 2025. Seems like wishful thinking. Is this at all possible, or is this one more done other place seem better? I don't think, as long as Adam Aaron is in charge, I don't think AMC will squeeze again. I mean, they might get a pop being part of the basket from 2021, but everything Adam Aaron has done has allowed shorts to cover as easily as possible, as quickly as possible, whenever possible. If he did not care about the livelihood of these short hedge funds, he never would have made any of the plays he made. Like, he sells directly to short hedge funds when given the opportunity to, at a discount, right? Stock price is at $25, I'll sell it to you at 24. Stock price is at 66 cents, I'll sell it to you for 55, right? Everything he does seems to be a gift to his business bros. And like, if he were a hard ass and actually cared about his shareholders, the stock price would not be at $7 right now. What is that right now? $8. $8. Yeah, it dropped down to $7.90, $7.85 today, or Friday. He pre-split, this is the equivalent of 80 cents. Just think of the stock as at 80 cents right now. That it went from $77 to 80 cents. That's what Adam Aaron has gotten you. A 97% loss on your investment. Okay. What now? What's he going to do to unlock that potential? Because he sold shares at discounts to hedge funds in huge quantities and crashed stock price consistently. He had the opportunity to sell stock at high prices and never did that to pay off his debt. And they have to pay off what's eating their ability to make a profit is their interest payments on their debt. And the fact that they don't ever own the real estate, they're paying lease money for real estate, so they're not building equity in anything. Whereas if they just bought the land where the theaters are, right? They can take out a loan. You need loans. You need billions of dollars in loans to operate this company. Cool. Use that loan money to buy theaters, to own the land under the theaters. So when you do your payments for your loan, you're getting equity back from it. So rather than taking out loans to keep leasing theaters, every time you spend money on the lease and then you got to find money to pay for the loan payment as well, you're losing money on two sides. You may as well just be building equity and getting land. But no, the Boston Consulting Group guys are like, never buy land. Always sell off all your land and lease it back. So you can lose twice as much. Then never build equity and never have any collateral against these stupid loans. If Adam Aaron were smart, which he might be smart, but he might be smart working for evil people, he would have taken loan money and used it to buy the land under all these theaters so that they have actual collateral and some value to the company. But everything's a lease. So if they were to go to bankruptcy, they got nothing to show for it, right? Like Sears in its bankruptcy, they have tens of billions of dollars in real estate. So if they have to sell everything off, the shareholders will get something out of it. AMC's got nothing. They don't own the land. They don't own the studios. They don't own the movies. They are purely like every dollar that goes into it disappears in the ether somewhere and won't be going back to the shareholders because they've just taken out way too many loans to pay for stuff they don't own. And I don't know. They need a complete revamp on what the future of what their future is. And taking on more leases is not the way to do it. Okay. So Joe, talking about AMC, if BBY pops causes 427 billion to disappear in a second, wouldn't that also force AMC to squeeze as well, since there is no more cash to short? No, it would definitely pop. That's for sure, because there's a huge chunk of short interest on AMC. My feeling is, though, the moment it starts to pop, Adam Aaron will dump like 100 million, 200 million, 300 million shares in the market and crash the price as quickly as possible so that no one can enjoy it. That's my feeling. He's got 60 million shares, 440 million shares that he can sell based off of the merger of Ape and AMC. Because Apes had 5 billion of them. They 10 for 1 reverse split. So then it's 500 million minus whatever he gave out to everybody. So 460 million of those suckers that they can sell into the market and crash the stock price as quickly as possible and make it really, really easy for shorts to cover on that. He won't wait. Like GME guys, if they need to sell some stock for equity, they're going to watch the stock price go to $1 bajillion and then they'll sell some at that. Adam Aaron will be like, oh my gosh, the shorts are in trouble. Let me dump every last share that I have into the market and make sure they don't lose any money on that one. That's probably what he's going to do because he sucks at his job. Or say he sucks at his fiduciary responsibility to us, but he's great at his fiduciary responsibility to his hedge fund buddies. So, he's smart for them, dumb for us. That's what I think is going to happen. Okay. Belgian whale, why does Shills keep shilling? We can't sell. What can't do anything? We can't do anything, but wait. So what's the point? You'll notice that like Platinum Sparkles and others were telling people, oh, you have to call your broker and ask them to close your position. Just be like, get rid of my shares, give me a realized loss for my tax purposes. That's what the Shills have been wanting people to do. And it's been so obvious that and no one's doing it. Like, I don't want to realize loss yet because I'm still waiting for bankruptcy to be finished. But the Shills are telling me to go to call and get my realized losses because, you know, they're thinking about, they're really concerned about me. They're so concerned. I'm so concerned that you're going to get your $3,000 tax write-off. So make sure you call your broker and ask them to give you realized losses, you know, so you can pay your taxes. Like, dude, shut up. Personal name, Houston. I have a blue sky code. One from you. I've been sending you ones. Oh, that's true. You have. Okay. I'll cross you off the list. I can't remember. I need a friggin' assistant to do all this crap for me. The Heavy Shorts was expecting a show tonight, but if it hasn't been asked yet, can you explain what's happening in Iceland? Oh, I think I did that already. Magma, wonk. Volcano, eventually. Grundvik, possibly covered, and they'll make a new city. Tremendous. Can you talk about any CPR first aid stories? Also comment on Good Samaritan law that says you can't get sued for saving a life. More training needed for CPR. It's actually not too hard either. Everyone should know CPR. Everybody. I mean, the first time I learned CPR was probably second or third grade. We did a week. It might have been third grade. I think it was third grade. We did a week where we hopped on the bus from school, went to the community pool, and we teach people how to swim and stuff. Some kids already knew how to swim, but made sure we got swimming lessons every single day, made sure every child in our class could swim. And then we did CPR lessons with little dummies, and you like learn to pump the chest and breathe in. You don't really do the breathing in anymore for people. Now you just keep pumping. And that was the first time I learned CPR. And then a few years later, we did it all over again, a review, learned CPR again. I then did the Woofer course, Wilderness First Responder course. We learned all sorts of things about, like, hey, you're in the wild, and someone has a gunshot wound or a broken leg or whatever. Like, learn to make splints, learn to pack wounds, CPR. And then I became an ocean lifeguard briefly one summer and did my CPR all over again on that one. Only rescued one person, though. I was at Black's Beach, which is like the nudist beach. I was like way down the beach in San Diego. If you're from San Diego or anything about San Diego, Black's Beach is a great surfing spot. It's underneath the Torrey Pines is at Black's Beach. I can't remember now. Anyway, there's like big cliffs and it's a parking lot, and my tower was like a mile down the beach. So it was a long walk from the car. I was not high enough ranking. They gave me like a car or anything, like cool lifeguards. So it was a very long walk from the parking structure, and I had a tower out there. And it was surfers, and every once in a while, naked men who should not have been naked. And my one rescue was a very large naked man who got trapped in the rip current, and I totally felt his dick on me the entire time. As I'm pulling into shore, and then fat guy on the beach. I'm glad not to give him CPR or anything, but he was just like so tuckered from fighting against the rip current. If you're in a rip current, do not swim against it. Swim sideways. Swim up or down stream until you're out of the rip current. That's the easiest way to get back, and then the current will pull you right back in, and you'll be fine. But I have rescued three people with CPR. I don't know how two of them ended up. No clue. Once the ambulance came, I didn't know them. First time was I was in line at the ferry. It was spring. We had our meetings when I was at the Art Institute of Seattle. So during like spring break, we'd have a week of meetings where we had to go and like do our new credits and learn about, retaining student records properly and crap like that. So I was in line at the ferry to get on the boat. A beautiful day. It was like beautiful, gorgeous April day. And this old guy just collapsed in the ferry terminal. And someone managed to catch his head because he was going down hard. And someone reached out and caught his head before he slapped into the pavement, thank God. And I did CPR on him for, 15 or 20 minutes before the ambulance was able to get there. And then he catch the ferry. So I have no idea what happened to him. we revived him, and his eyes were doing this thing that was like, where am I? I'm not going to be here much longer. He was really old, and it seemed like he had a big blood pressure drop. And so I don't know what happened to him. The next one was my friend Brett. I told that story before. I was working at the pub, came into work, and he was just dead on the floor. And I revived him 6 times. That was the most stressful one, because this is a friend of mine, right? This is somebody I work with and I know and I care about. And he'd basically been having like a 4-day long heart attack. He thought he had the flu, hadn't come into work for a few days. He's finally like, no, I just need to come into work. And it turns out that like 70% of his heart was dying. He had congenital heart failure, genetic, and just dropped dead right before I came in the door. And our dishwasher is from Sri Lanka. He didn't speak English very well. He's like, So immediately I rolled him over and started doing CPR. Everyone else that was in the kitchen was just freaking out. They'd be like, they ask, what, could I do something to help? I'm like, yes, you can do this thing. And they just like panic. And I was like, call 911. Guy's just sitting there with the phone in his hand. So I'm doing CPR and dialing 911, trying to talk to 911 because he was so paralyzed. No one in that kitchen knew CPR. No one had any experience with emergency medicine, with trauma. So when it hit, it was a complete surprise to them, and they had no game plan. Every time I'd bring Brett back to life, he would panic. His brain would reset. He had no idea where he was, who we were, what happened. And he was a power lifter, like incredibly strong power lifter. So I'd be like doing CPR on him. He'd wake up and he'd just do a sit up, and I would just go with him. And then he would start climbing the liquor cage that was in the kitchen. And the minute he his head got above his heart, he would just drop dead again. Like, I'm talking like not pass out, drop dead, no heartbeat, no pulse. And I'd bring his heartbeat back. So I did this 6 times. On the 6th time, he had such a buildup of adrenaline in his system that he just grabbed his phone and went running. And he lived in a boat in the marina that wasn't too far from where our restaurant was. And so I grabbed the sous chef and was like, just let him run. It's one of the things that you learn, like first responder, is that there's a fight or flight response in people. And if they're running, you just let them do it. And you just follow them, because they're going to drop again, or there's going to be some disaster that happens, and you can be there to help them when that happens. But if you try to force them, no, sit down, they will fucking fight you, and things get worse. So you just let them run. So I grabbed the other sous chef and I'm like, we're just going to make sure he doesn't fall off the dock, because he's running home right now. He knows his home. It's a safe space. That's where he's running to. So we're just going to follow him to his home. So we followed him out in the dock, and he gets onto his boat. I tell sous chef, get back to a phone, call 911, and let them know that we're on this dock, and we'll if the ambulance has reached work yet, that we're here. He's like, okay, so he runs off. The entire time I'm talking to Brett. I'm like, hey man, you died, and we brought you back to life several times. The ambulance is coming. He's like, I don't want to talk to the ambulance. I don't want. He's scared. His mind is, oh, this is gonna be expensive. I don't have the insurance for this. Who knows what's going through people's mind in this case. So Brett had a pretty simple routine. He had a sailboat they lived on. He'd work at the restaurant. He'd go to the gym. He'd go to the grocery store, and he'd come back to his boat. Those were the 4 places he did. That's all he did: gym, grocery store, home, work, gym, grocery store, home, work, and that was his routine. Thank God, one of the EMTs who responded, one of the volunteer EMTs, was a grocery checker at the grocery store where he visited, and so I used that to convince Brett to come out of his boat. I'm like, hey Brett. Garrett's here. Garrett. He works. He's a grocery checker at the grocery store, and he's like, "Oh, I know Garrett." I'm like, okay, so he's also an EMT, and since we called him, he's got to do a welfare check on you. So if you could just come out, we can just check your welfare and we'll make sure everything's all right, because we did have to call them, and so they got to check up on you. He's like, oh, okay. So he comes out. I get him off his boat. I'm like, hey, can you just walk with us to the machine? We're just gonna check your heart rate and everything. And so we get him to sit down on this bench by the ambulance. And they put the thing on his finger, and they're like, we need to get him out of here now. Brett's like, I'm not going to the hospital. And the guys they sent are really tiny. And so they asked for another ambulance crew, some big dudes, in case he wanted to fight them. And so the other ambulance crew came. And this is, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour has gone by, something, since everything happened. And working with them, I convinced him, I'm not, at this point, you can't touch him. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'm psychologically preparing him to go into an ambulance and go off. They get him in the ambulance, he heads off to the hospital. He dies another time, and they bring him back to life a 7th time. on his way to the hospital. He came to the hospital. They realize how bad it is. Immediately call Airlift Northwest, the helicopter, take him from the hospital to UW Medical Center, where immediately he goes under surgery and they carve out 70% of his heart, replace the beef heart, and give him an artificial pump he has to wear on the outside that's just whirring blood through his system. So his heart's no longer working. It's no longer pumping anymore. It's just holes with this artificial pump pumping blood through. And he gets released from the hospital with the artificial pump, and he's on the wait list for a new heart. And because he's young, because he's healthy, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, doesn't do those things, goes to the gym, he was really high on the list. And he got an offer. This was December 2014, so an offer probably around March 2015. And it was a young man who had checked into prison, like turned to prison, and then was like murdered 4 days later in prison. And, Brett was offered this heart. And he was like, I don't know what he was doing in prison. I don't know if he, sexually transmitted diseases, drug use, whatever happened in those 4 days he was in prison. He's like, I'm turning this one down. I'm like, well, you might not get another chance. And then like 2 weeks later, a young man in Portland was ghost riding the whip and fell off his car and cracked his head open and died. And Brett got his 18-year-old heart, like on April, I think it was tax day. I think it was April 15th, 2015. So he got his new heart. He's still strong, living his life. Kind of live like Bubble Boy because COVID and colds can kill him now because he had to be on crazy drugs that reduce your immune system and stuff. But, we still see each other when we can. And then the third time would have been spring 2017, working at my friend's pizza restaurant. And I hear, is there a doctor in the house? And like no one responds, which is kind of crazy because there's lots of doctors that live here. But no one responds. And I'm like, well, I have first responder training. So I go over and there's an old guy having a heart attack. I didn't know he was having a heart attack at the time. It might have been a stroke. His eyes are closed. He's like still holding his fork. And I'm asking him questions, see if he's responding. He's kind of responding. So the test you can do is you can have them grab, take their hands and put them on your fingers and ask them to squeeze. And if they don't squeeze anything, well, probably heart attack. If they only squeeze one side, stroke. So determined probably heart attack. So I put him on the ground, elevated his feet above him because if the heart's being weak during a heart attack, you don't want the extra force to like try and pump things through the leg and have the blood drain down the legs. So you get him on the back, put the legs up, call 911. They just took quite a while to get there. The family's freaking out. It's the granddad, there's grandmom, there's like their children and their children's children. So the grandkids are there, and the grandkids are like young and freaking out. And Grandpa's dying in front of me, and we kept him alive. His heart rate kept going. They put him on the ambulance and took off. And the crazy thing was, like, this is what assholes people are, right? I am performing CPR for like 15 or 20 minutes on this dude. Yes, I have tables. I'm waiting on tables and they're not getting their food because I'm saving this man's life. And I finally like get done, take the ambulance away. It's been 25 minutes or something. And I finally can like go and like get drinks and drop them off the tables. My heart rate is just nuts. I just want to like cry. And people are like, oh, it took you long enough to get my pizza. I'm like, Jesus, I want to fucking kill you right now. Same thing happened after Brett when people downstairs didn't tell people upstairs at the pub what was happening, that Brett was dying. And so I get up there and the person whose section I'm supposed to relieve was like, well, Houston's late. I'm not dealing anymore. And just like sat down at the bar and was having a drink while the entire section of people weren't being waited on. And I show up stressed out beyond belief. I have no idea if my friend is alive or dead. He's just in an ambulance and he's gone. And I know I've got to like serve fish and chips and beer to people. I don't give a shit. I just want to go home and like cry on my mom's shoulder, right? I've experienced one of the most stressful things I'll probably experience in my entire life. And people are like, where's my fucking beer? And I'd be like, sir, I've been performing CPR for like the last hour. I don't give a shit where your beer is. Fuck you, eat shit and die. That was very much how I felt after that. And I really didn't get any closure on that until I managed to get a hold of Brett at the University of Washington Medical Center after he woke up from his surgery. So it was like 2 or 3 days later because he was out for a long time after that surgery, and got him on the phone like, okay, you're alive. Whew. All right, that's a giant relief off my shoulders. I can now perform my daily duties, and we know you're okay. But yeah, those are my 3 CPR stories, and I hope I never have to do it again. I mean, if I'm there, I'm glad to do it, but I never want to have that responsibility again. It's I don't know. In an emergency, I do what I need to do, and then I just puke my guts up later. I remember one time a girl at work, the liquor cage that Brett was trying to climb when he would wake up. There was a bartender, and she went to grab a bottle. It was like a tequila bottle, and they have like those like ribbed bottoms, and one of those ribbed bottoms shattered and shot into her eye. And everyone's freaking out, and they're calling me down there, and thank God it didn't like spike into her eye. Like the flat part slapped into her eye. So it was like the perfectly flat flake against her eyeball. And so I'm literally holding her eye open, and I have somebody else like hold her eye open. They just want to puke their guts up. And I like wash my hands, get them as dry as I can, and just poke her eye and hope that it sticks to my finger. And it does. And everyone's all relieved. Her eyes like, red as can be. A couple of the capillaries burst and stuff. And I puked my guts up almost instantaneously. I was fine for the moment to get it out of there, and then once I did, but same thing. We had a bartender grab a wine glass fell, and she went to grab it, and it shattered in her hand and like lacerated all of her tendons and stuff. Once that was over, I puked my guts up. Like we had a guy in the kitchen, dishwasher, Mexican dude, not speak a lick of English, just from Oaxaca. Like his first day on the job, went to go pick something off the floor, and there was the sheet pans were upside down. The sheet pans have a little lip, and we put his hand down to grab this thing. It hit the back of his hand and peeled the entire back of his hand off. So I didn't know what happened. I went to go like do a load of laundry at work, and I come into the laundry room. It's also a bathroom, and there's just blood everywhere. And these 2 dudes just staring at this hand. And so I like take this guy's hand, and I run under water and like flap the skin back down. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm taking you to the hospital. He's like, no, hospital. No insurance. I'm like, don't worry about it. Take him to the hospital. They stitch his hand all back up. And I got home at like 8 a.m. That was a long day. But when it was all over, I puked my guts up. So, yeah, there you go. All right. Off of the horror stories. Suljo, I know about the buy button being turned off, but can the sell button be turned off if we get phone number prices? Can they stop us from selling? They don't want to stop us from selling. That's the thing. Is they need us to sell. They need us to sell our shares, and if they turn the sell button off, this thing isn't over with and it just keeps going, right? So they don't want to turn off the sell button. They want the opportunity for us to close our shares. The only reason to turn the buy button off was to stop FOMO from happening. Stop people from investing and driving the price up more, which is going to guarantee liquidations to happen for hedge funds. So they don't want the sell button off ever. They want the powers that be want to just get this over with. So they're going to want us to have the opportunity to sell our shares. So what they're hoping for is we just sell early and cheap, but we won't. It's going to be gross. Mo Money Houston, does BBY Saga look like near the end? I think so. I mean, I thought we were near the end at the end of September when Butterfly emerged. I was expecting like S1s to happen lickety split. But all the final fee statements from all the attorneys have been made. So that's it. There's no more work to be done on the bankruptcy. There's going to be an emergence from bankruptcy. What they did this week is there's certain claims. There's like a lawsuit where an item fell on a lady and hurt her. So these people sued for personal injury. The bankruptcy court guaranteed that any remuneration from that will come from the insurance policy and not from creditors. So stuff that's going to be dealt with insurance have been pushed off and sent away. And so anything that's pertaining to bankruptcy is pretty much done at this point. And so we're hoping that sometime this month they've just signed the hey, we've emerged thing. And I hope it's before Thanksgiving. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Twiddling thumbs. Okay. Where am I? I'm well over 2 hours on this thing now. I'm an hour and a half behind. I'm 2 hours in, and yeah, so that's where we are. If I didn't get to your questions, I apologize. I can go a little while longer. I'll go another 15 minutes, but I need to go get some food. I'm hungry. I'll do another 15 minutes, and we'll keep it extra special long. Sunday night special show, and there'll be a show tomorrow too. I don't know what time. Depends on. I take Chalupa to the vet tomorrow. I think he's got bronchitis because his allergy medicine isn't stopping it, and he's just been coughing and coughing and coughing. That poor cat. He's exhausted. I wish we'd MOASS so I could take him to the emergency vet now, but that's like a $2,000 vet bill. And if I take him tomorrow, it's a $200 vet bill. So I'm gonna take him tomorrow and hope that Chalupa holds out for the night. So sorry, buddy, to put a value on your life like that, but it's true. So depending on what the vet is tomorrow afternoon, it might be an evening show tomorrow. Okay. And Michael Anthony on the last call on CNBC saying last week that a merger between AT&T could be buying Dish to merge with DirecTV. We just love to consolidate crap in this country and eliminate competition, don't we? Like, you have 2 satellite TV services. Let's make sure there's only 1 now. And then we're going to complain that there's not enough competition. Yeah. Zach Blanos. Akbet couldn't be on PP's show for a while per his attorney, and they just made an appearance PP recently. Nothing personal, not being on a show. Houston, I believe. Totally okay. People, I'm small fry. I'm a small fish. So, there's more important shows for folks to be on. Believe me. Oh, person with no name saying out a Blue Sky code up for grabs. Hopefully someone grabbed that one. Walker Rats, give us some squeeze numbers. I have 115,000. I feel like this is better than GME. That is a boatload of shares, buddy. About 10 times what I have. 7 times what I have. Somewhere in there. All right. Let's say that things work out the way Houston has speculated. We get a cash payout. Cool. So we get $10 cash payout. You have over $1 million cash in your account immediately. Good for you. So you get $10 cash payout. You go out and you buy a GME and other things and, pay for your dolphin statues and stuff. Now, there's a minimum $10 floor price on the stock. But if we're issuing equity in multiple companies, upwards of 7 companies, let's say, and all their stock values are between $25 and $100, there could be another $300 per share in just immediate equity before the market ever opens. So now you have like $30 million in your account. You're doing all right there, Walker Reds. Now, shorts are forced to close. They have to do the payout. They got to buy shares and close positions. They're getting liquidated. The stock price easily goes from all these shares at $10 to $100 a share to now they're hundreds of dollars a share each or thousands of dollars a share each. So your 115,000 shares may end up being 700,000 shares or thereabouts. And those 700,000 shares each could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars each. You are now the richest person you know, and you can sell whenever you feel comfortable. You can hold out, maybe wait for it's tens of thousands a share, right? And you could be just a cajillionaire and be totally happy at being a cajillionaire. That's where I think things are going. So if this thing emerges and you get new equity, Walker Rats, I think you are going to be totally easy to retire almost whenever you want. So good for you. Or they submit something in bankruptcy court, it's like, we don't want the NOLs. We're just going to write it off and just be done. I think you're screwed. And I'm screwed and all these other people are screwed. And that's just where we are. So, woo! Yeah. Those are options. Zero Hero. Ted Mendes' recent podcast with Rob Reiner investigates JFK assassination. Do you think there was foul play? I personally know a top agent who they took off the detail that week, and he always thought it was weird. I mean, he's assassinated. That seems like foul play enough right there. Were there multiple shooters? I mean, there could be multiple people who were like, yeah, assassinate this guy. And they thought the same day, same, it's perfect opportunities, an open car. So there could have been multiple groups trying to assassinate him. Jack Ruby killed Oswald, so we'll never get answers there. Could have been the CIA, could have been the Russians, could have been anybody. Could have just been a pissed off local communist named Oswald that did it. Anyone who knows is so dead by now. All those guys were in their 40s and 50s in 1963. They are so long dead at this point that I don't think we'll ever get an answer. I don't think there ever will be an answer. Just, it's one of those things where you're like, all right, I can take a passing look at this thing and come up with my own ideas, and none of it will matter because we'll never have an answer. Nobody wrote down in their diary like, I was paid by the CIA to assassinate Kennedy because Bay of Pigs disaster, whatever. I don't know. But I don't think we'll ever get a clear answer on any of it. Although the coolest technology I think that came out of it was when they were able to on YouTube, Steadicam on the Zapruder film. So rather than the shakiness of it all, they could keep like everything centered. That was one of the coolest things I saw. I really like that tech. Davey asked, if the brokers go bankrupt during a squeeze, the max payout would be $500,000 through SPIC insurance. Wouldn't that be a great reason to direct register your shares? Brokers won't go bankrupt through this. I mean, there might be some broker apps that do, but the big brokerages won't. Because where the money's going to come from is from Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, big giant banks, and those banks are insured with the government, and they're too big to fail, so they're going to get billions or trillions of dollars printed and sent their way to pay off all these debts. So I'm not too worried about any of that. Okay. A Man Forever Changed. Thank you, A Man Forever Changed, for the super chat. There we go. All right. I have about 10 more minutes in me, and then I got to go eat some food. Vimo, just saw Dumb Money. Man, Hollywood sucks balls. I still have not seen it yet. So it never played at a theater near me, so I have no idea what the movie's like. And then if it's a $5 rental on Amazon, I'll pay for it. If it's $20, I'm not paying for it. That's more expensive than going to the movie theater. So why would I pay $20 on Amazon to watch it? See it trades G-America essentially a ghost kitchen? I have no idea what that means. Michael Anthony Gimi will never pay a dividend. I beg to differ. I bet they will. MacroTurf. Due to that rule 1145, is it possible for us to get shares back without notice of the S1? I don't know enough about rule 1145. Exemption from securities laws. Well, there's still, there would have to be a letter that goes out to someone saying the shares are coming back, whether it's to DTC or whoever, or the brokers. Rule 1145. Exemption from securities laws. Exempt with respect to an entity that as an underwriter is defined in subsection blah, 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 to offer sale under a plan of security of the debtor or affiliate participating in a joint plan with the debtor or successor of the debtor under the plan. That's where we are. We are debtor. In exchange for a claim against interest in claim against administrative expense in the case concerning debtor such as affiliate. Administrative expense. That's where $10.8 billion is sitting right now. Principally in such an exchange in party for cash or property. The offer of security through any warrant option, right to subscribe, or conversion privilege that was sold in the manner specified in paragraph 1 of the subsection, or the sale of security upon exercise of such warrant option, right, or privilege. The offer or sale other than under a plan of security of an issuer other than the debtor or an affiliate if such security was owned by the debtor on the date of the filing of the petition. Issuer security is required to file reports, subsection blah, 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 blah. in compliance with those with disclosure and reporting provisions, such application section, and such offer or sale is of securities that do not exceed during the 2-year period immediately following the date of the filing of the petition, 4% of the securities of such class outstanding date, and so they can't sell more than 4%. Noted. So 4% at this point would be 1% is 7 million. So 4% would be 28 million shares. So they could sell 28 million shares if they wanted to. During 180-day period following such 2-year period, 1% of the securities outstanding being such 180-day period. Or a transaction by a stock broker in a security that's executed after transaction of any kind specified in paragraph 1 or 2. I don't think that one applies to us. Purchase claim against interest or unclaimed administrative expense in the case concerning the debtor, if such purchase within view of distribution of any security received to be received in exchange for claims. Man, my mustache is so itchy. The thing is so long, and just my lip worm is itching my face so much. That's a lot to go through on this thing. Okay. Apply note, offer sale securities. Most of this has to do with sale of securities. Doesn't seem to be about equity distribution. Somebody who knows securities law better, I hope, can break this down for me. Rosa, come break this down for me. I'll check that out. I don't know. I'll have to read that more and dive into that deeper. Come on, you stupid mouse. There we go. Michael Anthony, markets will sell off hard with news on the new war just started, which is bad for markets. Which new war? We got plenty of them going. All right. This Maria lady seems to be a complete wackadoodle, so I'm just going to go like that. All right. Treetop. There's also a significant number of charming manipulative men that coax women into having sex when it's not really truly consensual. Oh, talking about the abortion thing. That also happens, yes. Men force women to do lots of things they don't want to do. And because they're larger and stronger, and they use that to their advantage. And yeah, that happens a lot too. Parker, Ryland reverse repo market is draining and propping up the market temporarily, in my opinion. I think you're right about that too. Is that the banks don't have cash, so they're no longer participating in the reverse repo, and they're using that cash to bolster the market artificially. Which should be used to pay us our money and not bolster the market. J-Town 1973, what happened to the BBYQ shares? All my shares of Fidelity are gone. Out of loop, are we? Get here a little late. BBY wrote the DTC and said, hold these shares. There's reorganization happening. And so they took the shares from everyone and holding for reorganization. And that reorganization, we think, is likely going to involve the issuance of new equity. So no trading can happen. All you do is just wait for something to happen. C54, government shutdown, incoming Republicans cannot govern themselves, let alone the country. Yeah, yes. I'm your friend. Aloha from Wahoo. Great way to end the weekend. Hoping you get the news you've been waiting for and hoping it starts something for all the rest of us because AMC is dust. This is true. Right, monkey? Right, monkey? All right. This dog wants a treat, so might as well give her a treat here at the end. She's been a good dog. She didn't get one on Friday, so we didn't do a show on Friday. So Stinky Chicken from Avocados here. Some stinky avocado chicken. Oh, so I'm going to squeeze that bag. It is just chicken. All right. This is what you want? Come up here, monkey. Come on up. Come up. I'm going to put your head while you eat that. Oh, nom, 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 nom. Sweet little dog. 24 the money. If 6th Street doesn't make a move soon, it's going to be open the door for hedge funds to take BBYQ private with a big cash offer, but shareholders get nothing. It's going to be down to the creditors. The creditors can yay or nay anything they want. And the hedge funds are like, well, we could buy this company for $100 million and be out of it. Gone. cancel all the shares, done. Which is what I think they were hoping to do. And JP Morgan got their $300 million claim bought out by 6th Street, and that was that. So they lost their inside man on that one. Aaron, so how Houston, do you think finger short squeezes once BBYQ thing kicks off? Yeah, I mean, fingers got until this Friday, right? They need to get their stock price above $7 to close on Friday, and then they can get that sweet gamma. And if they can do it, I think next week could be awesome for them. But okay. Steve Hagen, Houston, what's up with NOLs? Been on a bit of rip lately. They appointed a bunch of new members of their board who are pretty well known and pretty awesome. And I think they're building up to phase 3 trials were a success. And we got approval from the FDA coming. That's what I think they're going. Bex, Houston, happy birthday. Something, I missed that. Where'd it go, Bex? Something about happy birthday, and I didn't. Happy birthday, fantastic shirt, very Van Halen. Okay. All right. Barry's bits out of here. Bye-bye. Dude cometh. Well, I'm kind of famous. The dude cometh. The dude abides. All right. It's 9:30. I need food really bad. I'm calorie crashing. My head feels empty as a result of not having calories to burn in my cabeza. So we'll do a show tomorrow. Depending on the outcome of Chalupa Batman's vet visit, it might be an afternoon show. It might be a nighttime show. So we'll see where it is. And I'll get back to you guys. All right. Show tomorrow. We'll do another one. Hopefully this one also gets filed tomorrow. All right. Let's do this one.